Hey guys, Amy Jane here. I have a fellow gun enthusiast, Mike Hill, here to help me and show us how it's done. So, Mike, take it away.
Okay. Well, the gun we're going to be cleaning today, one of Amy's guns that she competes with. This is the Glock 34. Glock's a great gun to choose for today's subject because it is the most widely issued and carried handgun pretty much in all the world. Whether it's the U.S. government agencies, the military, SOCOM, or foreign countries that we have ties with or don't have ties with. But it's a great gun, it's reliable, and I'd bet my life on it. And once again, as with all firearms, for proper care and maintenance, first thing we're going to do is make sure that this gun is unloaded and clear and safe. You can see that the slide is locked back. The chamber I visually and physically inspected, and there's no magazine in the well. I'm going to let that slide go forward by allowing the slide catch to be released, and there you are. I'm pointing in a safe direction. This is downrange. I'm going to pull that trigger, get the hammer spring forward. Now to take the slide off from the lower receiver portion, all you do is wrap your thumb around the rear tang, roll your four fingers over the top of the slide, and simply pull back from 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. You'll see a takedown pin on this side and on this side. Holding the slide to the rear, you will pull both of them simultaneous and allow that slide to rock forward, and it comes apart just that simple. The next piece we're going to remove is going to be the guide rod and guide rod spring. You're going to push in on it, push in from the detent and the cutout on the barrel itself, and you'll remove that. That's one piece. I'll place that off to the side. The barrel simply slides forward, and then you rock it out of position, and there you have. This is a good field strip for the Glock. There's no need to take it any further unless you're an armor approved for the trigger housing group, trigger springs, and the other essential components in there. Now we have a complete field strip for the Glock, all Glock models at this time. First thing we're going to do, like any other weapon platform, I intend to start with the upper receiver, or the slide in this case for the Glock. For the Glock slide, we'll take a liberal amount of the lubricant, spray on all the external surfaces, the interior surfaces. You want and begin to scrub them with your brush to loosen up that carbon and allow the pores of the frame to soak in the lubricant itself and help break it away. Some points of interest are going to be the extractor, the area of the face for the firing pin where there's a small opening. Both of these areas you want to make sure are clear of debris or excess carbon buildup that could induce a malfunction during the firing sequence. Once that's clear or clean as well, you're going to again take a rag or Q-tips and you'll begin to wipe down the excess debris and or lubrication until it comes back and they're mostly clean. When you're finished with that, you can come back and apply using the Q-tip or spraying directly onto the interior and exterior of the frame the cleaning lubricant, or if you have a separate just lubricant itself, and then apply. And I like to let it soak for the remainder of the time while I move on to the other parts to allow the frame to soak up that the much needed lubrication. Next piece we're going to move on to is going to be the barrel. Again, I'm going to take my cleaning solvent and spray a liberal amount to both the exterior as well as the interior and chamber of the barrel itself. I'm going to take my cleaning rod and I'm going to punch that barrel from where the round enters out to the far side and back again. As with all other barrels that you can clean, other options are available besides just a brush where you have to both punch it in and remove it in the reverse direction. I generally like to keep the barrel being cleaned in one direction and rotating it through in the same direction that the round is fired so as not to foul or cause excess carbon to remain or to be placed in a different direction based on the grain of the interior of the barrel. Once that's clean again, you're going to run your cotton brushes through it. You'll put your CLP on there or other lubricant that you're going to be using. Could be Mobil 1. And you'll want to run those patches through or your soft brush until they come out, ideally with absolutely no carbon or any other debris on it. Once you've attained that, you're good to go at this part. And you just want to have a light coat of oil on the exterior of your barrel surface, as well as run a clear patch with 1 or 2 drops of oil to maintain that lubrication for the interior. The next item is going to be the guide rod and guide rod spring. Per Glock and most aftermarkets, there's really nothing you need to do for this. You're going to check it, inspect it, that you still have good spring tension on it, that it's all one piece, it's still maintaining a good work order. They recommend that all of these from Glock be changed out every 5,000 rounds. Aftermarkets, you're going to want to check specifically with the manufacturer that you purchased it from. I'm going to wipe that down a little bit. I keep this dry, I don't put any oil on it whatsoever, and I set it off to the side. If there is a lot of carbon on it, you may want to use a carb cleaner or a power blast type of an option to clean the excess debris, should it warrant it. Next is going to be the last portion to clean and lubricate, and that is the lower receiver portion of the handgun. That will include the mag well, all the internal components that hold the trigger springs, as well as the slide rails, your slide catch, and all the grooves that are associated with it, as well as your mag release. Just like all the other parts, it becomes redundant. We'll take a liberal amount of your cleaning solvent, Hoppy's number 9, whatever you may be using. I'll take my wire brush. I'll make sure that I get all the points where friction is maintained by the slide rails to clean those of any carbon buildup and or foul, both in the front and the rear of it. I will lift up the slide catch and get the interior portion of that surface as well as underneath it, and any other portions where I think there's a carbon buildup, as well as I tend to run a brush through the interior of the Glock mag well. Older Glock generation mags or mag wells, Gen 1s, Gen 2s were a little softer. When they heated up, they tend to hold the magazine and not drop it in a proper manner. Glock has done tremendous work on their Gen 3s and Gen 4s and fix that, but I still like to keep a clean surface and apply a little bit of oil as well to help expedite that process. Once I'm done with that and I've wiped it all clean, I again will apply a small amount of oil to the surfaces where the slide connects and friction is conducted from the lower and upper receiver. Once proper cleaning and lubrication of the lower and all other parts is completed, we're ready to put the gun back together and do a function check. Reassembly of the Glock is pretty simple. It's just everything in reverse. We're going to take the upper, or the slide I should say. I'm going to turn it upside down, again using gravity in my favor. Put the barrel, slip it into it, roll a little bit forward. Using the barrel lugs, I'm going to push back into position. These lugs will be facing upward as I'm holding this in the inverted position. Next, you're going to see two sides of your guide rod and guide rod spring. One is a flat surface. The other is a bezeled surface. That bezel is to allow to where it's going to be seated properly. So that way you know that's the same end as where the round's coming out. You will slide it into its position. You'll push in on the spring and have it set into the detent of the locking lugs for the barrel. Once that's done, now I can turn the barrel or the slide, barrel, and guide rod spring upside down. Everything is secure in position. I'm going to marry it to the lower receiver. You'll see the cutouts for the slide are going to marry up with these slide rails. I'm going to turn the gun this way so you can see how it marries up. Right there, it slides into position, all the way back to as if I'm charging the firearm, and let it go forward. And now we're ready to get a function check. A function check for a Glock is pretty simple, but it's a couple practical pieces that you want to make sure if you're not used to putting the Glock or it's your first time putting it back together. First thing I like to do is once I've married the slide, the slide to the lower receiver, is like when I do a malfunction, I'm going to rack that slide 3 times. That's a personal preference. The next thing I'm going to do is use my thumb with a proper mount on the gun, and I'm going to push forward with it to make sure that slide's not coming off from the upper receiver. One of the 3 internal safeties for the Glock trigger is this indent that you'll see on the trigger face. When my finger is in the trigger and I'm getting ready to fire, my pressure will allow the trigger spring to be released and the gun to function. One way to check and ensure that this is functioning properly is to use your index and your thumb on your support hand while holding the firearm in your strong hand and grasp the trigger around without touching that indent. You'll then push the trigger to the rear and ensure that it does not function. Then you'll place your hand on the trigger, push down, you'll hear the firing mechanism, keep the trigger to the rear, rack the round once, I release the trigger slowly, I hear reset, and pull the trigger again. That ensures proper function of the entire trigger and the safeties that are enacted. And Amy, here's your clean gun.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
We'll have more gun breakdown and cleaning videos up for you, so come back to guncarrier.com and we'll see you then.